Relation tales. I never thought I'd be in this situation, asking strangers for advice online. But here I am. We met in college, and we were each other's first love. We've been together for 10 years, married for 8. I always believed we had a special and beautiful relationship, but it seems that was just me. A while ago, my wife started working at a new company. At first, she had trouble fitting in because she's always been shy. I encouraged her to make friends, and she did, with a group of girls who were either single, divorced, or dating, but none were married. At first, I was happy for her, but then she started going out for drinks, partying, or doing other things with her friends. I got worried about her change in behavior and tried to talk to her, but I didn't want to restrict her in any way. This started affecting our relationship, especially in the bedroom. My wife was never the one to start intimacy, but with all her going out, she was either too tired or just not in the mood. Then, her company got a new manager, and she and her friends seemed to really like him. She started mentioning him casually, but it reached a point where she was talking about how he handled problems that didn't seem work-related. I asked her why she was so interested in this guy, but she brushed off my concerns. She even started asking if I regretted not having more experience with other women, to which I said no because she was all I ever needed. I thought I saw a moment of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the subject. Then she brought up the idea of an open marriage as a way to spice things up. I was shocked because she was never this type of person and wasn't very liberal when it came to sex. At first, I refused and questioned if this had anything to do with a new manager. She said she felt like she missed out on something but didn't want to lose me, so this seemed like a safer option. I warned her that she was playing with fire, but in the end, I reluctantly and naively agreed. We set some rules, with the main one being that no one should stay overnight in our house. As a result, my wife went on dates and had one-night stands for a year before, and I somehow failed to notice that she was seeing that manager. In contrast, I went on a few dates, but avoided one-night stands since they seemed weird to me. My wife would check in with me to see how I was doing, but she didn't really alter her behavior. At some point, I felt the love I had for her. That pure special innocence of marriage was gone, and it was killing me inside. I ended up going on a date with an amazing woman who migrated over from South Korea. Conversation was effortless. She had wit of a lightning-fast white crack and a smile that had one forget himself. This, of course, led to more dates until we were intimate. I honestly never had sex like I had with this woman. I never knew a woman could be so giving and make one feel so desirable. At first, my wife thought it was cute. But as the months went by, she began questioning my relationship with my lover. I promptly pointed out that this was her idea, and even she was in a relationship with her manager I was concerned about. She was silent. Looked she wanted to say something, but held her tongue. She began coming home early to surprise me with dinner and get the house extra clean. She so started coming to my workplace to drop off lunch and began to initiate intimacy in the bedroom. Honestly, if it wasn't for her opening up our marriage, which I am also to blame for agreeing, all this would have had me jumping for joy. When I did give in to her attempts at intimacy, it was just to end the situation. My wife and I both seemed to be experiencing a death in our relationship. When I asked her what had changed or what had caused her to change, she told me that she wanted to express to me how much she loved and was content with me. I didn't mean to chuckle, but I couldn't help but ask about her little circle of pals, her manager's boyfriend, and her one-night stands. That day she stayed silent and went to bed sobbing. She's waiting for me when I arrive home the following day. She told me she wants to close the marriage, that this whole experience was a horrible mistake. That regrets everything and wants us to be focused on our relationship again. I told her to be honest with me and tell me what inspired all this in the first place. And wouldn't you know it? It was her group of friends that planted the idea because of their numerous sexual exploits. And when her manager came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged my wife to live free. Apparently it developed into an emotional affair, but only got physical once the marriage opened. Wow, like that makes it any better. She described it as being like driving drunk in a speeding car. It was exciting and thrilling at the time, but now the cost of her decision is too much for her to handle. She realizes now that she never needed to compare us, that what we had was truly special. But now she feels like she's destroyed our marriage and any chance of a future together. I told her that I might never be able to see her as my wife again, and that made her break down in front of me. I just held her in silence as she cried until she fell asleep in my arms on the couch. Since then, she has quit her job, cut off all contact with her friends and the manager, and even told me she's willing to spend the rest of her life making it up to me, working as hard as she can to be seen as my wife again. But I haven't cut off contact with my lover. My lover, honestly, makes me feel like a man, like I can take on the world, something my wife hasn't made me feel in a while. Truth is, I don't know what to do in this situation. I would love to get the special feeling back if possible, but my lover basically saved me when I was at my lowest. Forgot to add, we have our first marriage counseling session in a couple of hours. Not sure how that will go. The therapist seemed nice and experienced. She appeared unbiased and actually eager to help. Even though it was our very first session, my wife took it as an opportunity to lay it all out at seams. She confessed that this group of friends made her wonder if she had missed her chance because she was committed to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences, that she never had the same adventures some of these supposedly amazing women had. Remember, some of whom are divorced, but none are married. The therapist pointed out that this can be and often is detrimental to a marriage due to the difference in mindset. My wife seemed to agree, then added that after the new manager started approaching her, some of these friends encouraged her to see where it goes, that this was a chance for her to explore or discover herself. She obviously felt guilty, so she says. So she never did anything physical until one of the divorced ones suggested an open marriage as a loophole and told her that some couples come out stronger because of it. So after, regrettably, again, so she says, convincing me to open up the marriage, her so-called adventure began. It was intoxicating and blinding, but lacked real substance, not like the kind we built over the years, and she started to question her reasons for doing this. She said she could see the hurt in my eyes, but told herself this was an adventure. She said she'll never forgive herself for this. She chanced to have an amazing experience, so the gravity of it all never it, until she noticed a change in me. At first she assumed because I went on dates I would gradually accept her situation and be okay with it. But everything changed when my lover became a regular part of my life. Apparently, I started smiling for no reason, and my eyes would light up when I got a text or when I left the room cheerfully to answer a call. My wife said she suddenly felt a pit in her stomach and started having mini panic attacks out of nowhere. She went back to her friends for advice, but they told her my reaction was normal during the open marriage. But when the same divorced friend who suggested the open marriage in the first place said, "It looks like his lover makes him happy," it finally hit her. The idea that another woman, not his wife, was making me happy almost made her faint. She realized how ridiculous the whole situation was and begged her friends to help her win me back. They just told her that if she couldn't handle it, she shouldn't have opened the marriage in the first place. She realized then that these people were toxic and a threat to our marriage and the life we had built. Since then, she has been on a mission to win me back by any means necessary. I didn't share much about my side, but I did tell the counselor about the situation, including the fact that my lover is still in the picture. The counselor said that no resolution could be reached as long as my lover was still involved and suggested we book another appointment after tomorrow. The counselor did say it was unusual for someone to stay with their first this long and gave the impression that any storm can be weathered. I highly suspect she wants us to be one of her success stories. Sorry that it's long, but I figured I might as well give a full update. Once more, I appreciate your support, everyone. I've now moved into my brother's apartment, so it's practically been an episode of Jerry Springer. Here's a brief summary of what I've learned about my wife's actions and some frightening facts concerning her management. I posed some of the queries raised by some Redditors during our second counseling session. First, if she was sure nothing physical happened before the opening of the marriage. She looked towards the ground and begged me not to make her say it. She said if she said it, then it would destroy us. But after some pushing, she shared that it wasn't physical, but they touched themselves in front of each other. This douchebag convinced her that since it wasn't physical, it wasn't technically cheating, and that they were simply enjoying each other's full beauty. I was absolutely floored by this, and she started shaking and hyperventilating. Its nut even began flowing from her nostrils as she cried and apologized to me. At this point, even the counselor was taken aback and had a look disbelief. My wife got on her knees and hugged my legs, saying how sorry she was. Second, I then asked her what really changed her view of him. She said after she started pulling back from the group as a whole, his behavior towards her changed. Then one evening as she was leaving a meeting, she passed his office and heard him speaking about her to another male colleague. He said he was surprised at how easy it was to get her and how she is living proof that you can't trust the quiet ones. When the colleague asked if he actually fancied her, his response was that she was a pleasant distraction and that he had absolutely no intention of breaking up with his fiancée. He even added that this was simply to get it out of his system, because the only woman who has ever understood him was his fiancée, and he didn't want to break up with her. He also mentioned how he felt bad for me. But you snooze, you lose. My wife, upon realizing that she was nothing more than a piece of meat to this man, added by the fact that she betrayed me for a cheap thrill, actually made her suicidal in that moment. She said she left her workplace and vomited in the parking lot. She also added that her first thoughts were, what I have done, and my name. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Third, I asked her if she loved him and when she stopped loving me. She looked me in the eye through tears and said she never stopped loving me, which honestly made it worse, and that he was just something different. She thought it was love, but now she realizes how foolish that was. She grabbed my arm with surprising strength and said she knows she messed up, but she missed us and the connection we had before all this. She even suggested we move away and start fresh, just the two of us, like it was meant to be. I then told her it wouldn't be fair to my lover and that I need time away from her to process all of this. She had a meltdown when I said that. She started sobbing harder and saying things that didn't make sense. She held on to me like I was going to disappear. It took both me and the counselor some time to calm her down. The counselor managed to convince her that maybe time apart could help us heal. Now I wish I could end the update with just this. But as we got home, I began to pack. My wife got a video call from her laptop. It was one of her former friends in tears. It turns out that after my wife resigned this friend and the manager began a fling of their own, but apparently she had a pregnancy scare which caused him to basically turn into Dr. Jekyll. To make matters worse, she had a boyfriend whom she apparently could see a future with him, and the only reason why she even had a fling was because she was curious of the experience. Funny how that seems to be a trend. Her boyfriend found out because he discovered an email between the two discussing the potential pregnancy, but the manager basically accused her of baby trapping him. Of course, he left her, and the reason why she made contact is because she was under the impression that my wife managed to save our marriage and was desperately seeking advice. I just turned and left, and have been staying in the apartment ever since. Once again, thank you all for your thoughts and helpful advice. Update first and foremost. Thank you to everyone who took the time to reach out and share either helpful advice, your own similar life story, or just offered an ear for me to rant. It truly means a lot. Well, quite a bit has happened. The former friend who had the pregnancy scare was indeed pregnant, but the stress of losing her boyfriend and being humiliated by the affair caused her to lose the baby. She basically turned ballistic and went full scorched earth on the manager. She exposed him to all upper management and his fiancée. I happened to find his fiancée on Facebook, was curious, and this woman is basically the poster child of a pretty small town girl. Based on her profile, she's a special needs teacher who is a homebody and is very family orientated. My very first thought was, what the hell is he doing messing around with other women when he got her at home? Honestly, why men like him end up with women like her is one of the greatest mysteries of life. The former friend actually got in contact with me. She wanted my side of the version of events because she was collecting evidence against him, but she wanted to do it in person. She already had her COVID test, and so did I, and I agreed. From the moment I saw her face, I knew she was broken. The dark circles under her eyes and the redness in them showed she hadn't slept and was haunted by her own thoughts. She thanked me for agreeing to meet and immediately apologized for her part in my wife's affair. She told me that she and my wife had talked again, and that's when she found out I had moved out. She didn't blame shift and wanted to take responsibility, which is why she wanted to meet in person. I thanked her for her effort, but asked why she would go this far. She said losing both a child and the love of her life changed who she was at her core. She said she can hardly look in the mirror without feeling disgusted, and she can hardly sleep because all she sees is her ex's face on the day he found out. This woman clearly hated herself, and this meeting might have been a form of punishment for her. She told me that since fraternizing among coworkers is a breach of conduct, and because he was in a position of influence, he will most likely be fired and possibly blacklisted from that field altogether. But the same might happen to her as well, and she has accepted it. She left after getting my side of the story and apologized again. I needed to get a few things from the old place, so I picked a time when I thought my wife wasn't home. Unfortunately, she was there. But what surprised me is that she had most of our wedding photos out on the coffee table as well as others, and she was staring at them. When she noticed me, I could see she was crying. She tried to hug me, but I gently pushed her aside. She tried to offer me lunch, but I told her I wasn't hungry and that I wouldn't be long, just needed a few things. Before I could proceed, she said she had something to show me. She pulled out her phone and showed me a message she received 2 days ago from her former manager who berated her. It was from a new number since she blocked his old one. Apparently, my wife helped her former friend expose him to all relevant parties and he was fuming. She said she got the idea from Chump Lady and Marriage Builders. She thought by exposing the secret she was removing its power as well as giving us a fighting chance. I told her I was glad that she had the courage to do that, but it doesn't change anything between us. I also informed her that I will be stopping marriage counseling, but will do individual counseling instead. This made her sob softly and she said she understood. I know I am supposed to feel either elation of the actions taken or rage because it took this long, but I feel numb towards her. This isn't normal. Hence why I want to address it in individual counseling and not marriage counseling. I've also seen a divorce lawyer on my brother's advice just to be safe. Right now, I'm not really willing to fight for this marriage, and it seems my wife can sense it. Before I left, she tried to start something intimate, but when I refused, she yelled and asked what my lover does for me that she can't. She shouted, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, that whatever I wanted, she would do it. I shook my head and told her that after everything that's happened, it's clear where our marriage is heading. If she still can't see it, then I don't know what else to say. I want to thank all of you again for your support. This is where I'm at right now. Second story, my boyfriend 30M and I 27M have been together for almost 3 years, and we've been in a long-distance relationship for a year now. We usually manage by seeing each other at least once a month, but recently we hit a rough patch. He was studying for a board exam, and I was on vacation abroad visiting my aunt. When we finally saw each other after 2 months this summer, I could tell something was off. I snooped on his phone and saw in his deleted photos that he had downloaded Grindr, a hookup app, at some point. When I confronted him, he gave me a story about a friend asking him to download it to check on another friend. I wanted to believe him, so I did, and I even apologized for not trusting him and snooping. But something still felt wrong, so after he flew back home, I checked Grindr on my old phone, searched his area, and found his profile. His account had PG photos and was labeled chat, friends, not hookup, like some people label theirs. I confronted him again, and he admitted he downloaded it because he was lonely and unhappy in our relationship. But he said he regretted it and never talked to or hooked up with anyone. After several long talks and him trying hard to win me back, I forgave him, and things have been good since. But the long-distance part messes with my anxiety, and I'm not sure I can fully trust him again. The next time I saw him, I snooped on his phone again and found nothing. But the fact that I felt the need to check makes me uncomfortable. I worry that I trusted him too quickly and forgave him too easily, and that he could have lied about not hooking up with anyone. I wish this never happened, and I wish I never found out, because I love him dearly. But it has changed a lot for me,